my shit is just raw. It's just raw with it, you know. And if you don't like it, that's your shit, you know. But through the course of not just my human life, but human life, it's like people talk shit out of pocket, like on a mental level. People talk shit on a out of pocket on a logical level, and people also like they also demand shit from other people on an out of pocket level. What do I mean by that? If someone's not upholding their end of the bargain or deal, or they're not providing their service, like there's going to be like some type of stone that's going to get thrown at you. But some people do that unrealistically, right? Because people could give free content, and if that free content maker doesn't, like, you know, reach some sort of quota, some people can make some imaginary shit about that content maker because they haven't filled a certain expectation, which the expectations are ultimately you're creating, right? So like, and this is just the human psyche, because we're experiencing the human life for a time being, not good, not bad, right? And as we're experiencing the human life within its different types of like old genetic programs and rewritten genetic programs, it's attempting to have some type of real emotional maturity, and that leads to ultimate like spiritual maturity eventually. But that takes a fucking long fucking time though, and we don't necessarily realize that. And everyone's on different fucking levels. So if everyone's on different levels, that's the shit show of confusion that we don't have to be a part of. That energy we don't have to be a part of, right? Because it's the human, how its individual psychology works. It's based on old genetics, old paradigms and systems, and how that is getting lifted and alleviated ever so slightly, subjective, case by case, per the individual, of course. And um and like the human psychology could talk shit on a energetic confused level out of pocket. What do I mean by that? It talks shit out of pocket because, like, when someone's doing great, right? Say someone's like the best fighter in their league and they have like a really good record. And now other people, like, they want to get on that status, right? Their outdated human psychology, it's like natural for them and their outdated shit for just to, like, you know, rag on them, right? Like, oh, this fucker ain't shit. This fucker ain't shit. That type of shit. That's the outdated human psychology talking. The outdated human psych. And I'm like, I'm saying that. I logically could say that because the human is going through that shit. But what's causing that? It's some type of old genetics. And how you could transform that is the grace of good teachers and guiders that could actually realize that particular shit. So we could actually, like, not do that. And it's kind of unnecessary. It's kind of unwarranted because when we rag on someone out of pocket, it doesn't really do anything. It just kind of like feels like some type of like, I like raw with it, direct as it. It just feels some type of like, you know, like emotional immaturity type of shit, and like false reality type of shit. Because someone like could put so much work in, and all of that work could somehow just kind of like go sideways based on them having a fucked up chapter in their life, right? Like, say there's like two great fighters, and one of the fighters just fucking like makes the other great fighter look kind of like insignificant. Now everyone's ragging on the insignificant fighter, regardless of all the good work he's put in, right? So all that work somehow from the human psychology, the quote unquote outdated human psychology perspective, vantage point, end quote, from the outdated human psychology, all of that good work is getting thrown out the window because that's how the human psychology works. If it has like, sometimes it has unrealistic expectations and demands for whatever fucked up reason, you know, old genetics, right? So it's like, so when people rag on someone, it's out of pocket, you know? Like, fuck this guy. I don't know. I have no knowledge on this fucker. I have no idea what this fucker is about, but fuck this guy. That type of shit. Like, okay, like, for my human to like, that's part of like that's part of the like the old genetics, right? So like for me to kind of realize that, you have to, for you to want to transform something, you have to realize it. So it's like, so the reason I bring it up is like is because like, just so I could transform that shit, that like kind of like that mental program within me, like wow, it's like this fucker put in so much work, and now you're kind of like, now it's all kind of up for like, it's up for some type of like esoteric Olympic trial, right? It's a trial because you've done all the fucking work, and now for you to like test that work however you do, maybe you're on stage, don't make yourself look like a fool, or you're like fighting someone, get like give it all you got type of shit, you know? So it's like, it's just kind of recognizing like, when we like kind of like out of pocket talk shit about us, about some other people, that's our own outdated human psychology that's doing it, you know? Because we have no idea on a spiritual mature level what someone actually like did, you know, contributed for like the reality to actually lean towards how it's fucking feeling and functioning right now, you know? And that's just the outdated human psychology shit. So that's just a little piece on that. And that's me like recognizing like like how the human goes through that. And it takes extreme spiritual maturity to not judge that shit, right? Because we're going through that shit. But just because we're not judging that shit, it's not necessarily acceptable in like many, many different places. So this is real spiritual maturity, seeing like, you know, if we're in a place of work, we have to know what is acceptable and what's not. Obviously. So, and I get it. And the people who are like still on that, I'm like, I'm also leaning and pivoting towards like, I'm not judging that shit either. Like, if you want to fucking like, you know, run with that shit and just like say, that's okay too, because you're doing it in the midst of just trying to grow, you know? You're just trying to grow and trying to like thrive and strive for like, the next level. But how you're doing it, it could be kind of like not necessarily realistic, because talking shit is not going to give you the champion belt, right? Like that's the difference between talking shit and actually doing the shit. And then after you, and if you do get the champion belt, then then you have to kind of like maintain that shit, right? So, but like that's the thing. Like I'm just telling you, like with my like me somehow on some miraculous level leaning towards some type of esoteric maturity, like I get that shit, you know? I get the outdated human psychology on how people could just be like, you know, because like the human goes through this shit. It's like people will rag on them, just outdated human psychology slash toxic shit, you know, toxic mentalities or whatever. Like, because it's like, oh, if you're not performing how we think you should perform, you're gonna get ragged on. And that might be, so some of the cases are not, and I'm not saying all of it's out of pocket either, you know? Some of the cases are not out of pocket because people have to maintain their shit. So it's like, so there's two different examples here of like how the human psychology is going through just different human shit, you know? We could rag on people for not holding up their end of the deal, right? Like if we had, like for example, because like I grew up like, you know, when I was like kind of like looking at teachers, I was like, you unconsciously like put an unrealistic dependency on them, right? Like you have to be there. Like we're putting unwarranted like responsibilities on these content creators that we shouldn't, you know? Like we're unconsciously like depending for them to be like our parents when that's not the fucking case, you know? And people do that on a low key level in society too. So I get all of this shit, you know? Like none of this shit is like none of this shit is missed, you know? Like from a divine level. Like none of this shit is like not like God sees it all. Like the higher self, God, he sees it all, you know? And that's like that parallel is kind of proven because we're receiving all of that fucking shit, you know? So the thing is, it's like there's two examples here of the quote unquote outdated human psychology, end quote. We have this unconscious dependency for content creators, for our teachers and guiders to fucking perform how they should perform, but we have to take into consideration that they too are human and they're only like doing with what they can. But if like, but But if they said they would do something a certain way and they don't, that's a different story. If they're like committing to doing something and they're not following up on the commitment, that's a different story, obviously, you know? But it's like the esoteric immaturity, the unconscious esoteric immaturity, it could place dependency on other people without it necessarily knowing it, because that's outdated human psychology. And that's kind of an understatement, because the human psychology, it needs a parent figure that it doesn't fucking have. Quote unquote, boo fucking who, end quote. There's new chances all the time. You don't have to fucking play the fucking victim card all the fucking time. You know what I'm saying? And this is me being real. I'm not trying to do it for entertainment. I'm trying to do it for real fucking healing. I'm not trying to be an esoteric, immature showman and just be like, I'm this fucking buff ass motherfucker and I'm just fucking replicating shit on an unconscious level, and now I'm fucking trying to put on a show and now it's all going all fucking south, you know? It's not that fucking baby ass bullshit. Gerber ass baby ass fucking, you know, fucking applesauce, fucking Gerber, fucking, you know, vomited out fucking Lucky Charms, fucking baby ass bullshit. It's none of that fucking replicated, esoteric, immature bullshit. And my shit is beyond all the fucking haters who hate on me. And the underground can prove that. Because you don't know what fucking toxic is if you don't know the fucking real ancestors. Because the ancestors are the fucking, they fucking were there at the start of that shit. So you think you're toxic? You have no fucking clue, buddy. So some of y'all just need to take a seat, and that's just real esoteric shit, you know? So two examples here. It's like two examples here. The unconscious human psychology, the outdated human psychology. We talk shit out of pocket because that's just where we're at in our unconscious stage of growth, you know? We talk shit out of pocket, and as we're talking shit out of pocket, that's not necessarily getting you that's not necessarily completing the end goal. That's the fucking point here. It's not completing the objective. And I have no problem with people like peeping game and taking notes. I'm just saying like do it for a real good cause, because that's the last thing this world needs is just fucking people copying and not healing the world, you know? Like copying and just fucking like kind of like just doing it for some weird show when there's like this real cause. Like people need to have like a real fucking journey to actually like realize why I fucking like quote unquote, you know, contribute so much, end quote, as I do, because I realize and I feel the fucking world situation. That's the difference between me and like the majority of this. It's kind of like some of this is like, it's literally low key. Some of this shit is like a joke though, you know? It's like this is 2024, like, and this is what 2024 is. And I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just saying this is the shit that it is, you know? But I'm saying the outdated human psychology is like, it could talk shit out of pocket, you know? Or it could just like, it could, yeah, and I'm not judging it. I'm trying to see it on a higher level, you know? I'm just saying like, the point here is like, it's not gonna do anything, you know? That only goes so far, you know? That only tempers your own esoteric immaturity energies. That's all. It's not doing anything. Like you trying to be hard by putting someone else down in front of like your friends. No one really gives a fuck about that shit. Irony at its extreme fucking point.